You got it right.
I did. All right. So I wrote it down. We did a
We're
dry
so
run
impressed.
yesterday. Apparently the dry run didn't help. I guess maybe we need to think about using the same link for both. I don't know. I just turned 40 last year, and I'm starting to have these moments where I feel disconnected from technology, which is a little bit scary at such a young age.
Well, you've got a millennial on staff over here that's not doing much to help you out either. So
I know. So, and so I asked Kate. Kate's been with Spector and Company, Spector and Co. for 8 years, and I asked her to give me a couple of little tidbits about herself that might be interesting. And I was looking for like 2 or 3, but she gave me one, and we stopped after that because she has a dog named Ricky Bobby that she calls Bob, who can in fact do a trick that she calls the shake and bake. I just felt like after I was told that, I didn't think I needed to share anything else. And the only thing that disappoints me is that I don't think we have a video of the dog doing the trick.
But I'm going to get you guys one. I'm going to get you one of her doing it because it is really funny when she does it.
That was a serious letdown.
I know. Guys, what a way to start my presentation. Big letdown.
Well, we've worked with Spector and Company for a while, and they have some great products, and I'm excited about what Kate can show you today. I think a lot of, probably most of you have received the journal that we sent to you. That is from Spector, and has some of the technology that we're going to talk about built in. And Brett, I know you like to let people, and I think you're going to pop the website for Spector in the chat.
I'm working on that right now.
Okay, so that if people want to kind of get a feel for what they have.
Yeah, so for those folks who may have 2 screens or what have you, it's spectorandco.com, but I've just basically put their home link right here, so you can kind of peruse around the website and get a feel for who they are while Kate is kind of presenting here. But yeah, I just always think it's fun or helpful to be able to kind of follow along in that aspect.
There we go. So with that, Kate, excited to have you. Appreciate you taking some time, and off we go.
Well, thanks so much, Landon, and thank you everybody for joining today. I want you to know I do a very laid back presentation, so please feel free. If you've got any questions along the way, just pipe right in. It's all good, and we love the collaboration between everyone. So we are going to be talking about NFC technology today. And what makes NFC technology such an interesting conversation for us is this the first time that you get to bridge the gap between a physical marketing product and a digital experience. So what happens in this particular case is that a little chip that we have is coded with a URL of your choosing. So that can be anything. It can be a homepage. It can be a link to a YouTube video. It could be a link to a survey. It can be anything you want as long as it's located on a URL. Once we've coded the chips, we then embed them into the product using a few different methods that I will show you in just a little bit. When you receive your product and you pass it out to the recipients, they are then prompted to scan that decoration method where the chip is located using their smart device, whether it's a phone or a tablet, whatever you want. The beauty of this is it's fully integrated into the product. So a lot of people ask us, because this technology, you're already very familiar with it, you just don't realize it. It's the same technology that's used in your hotel keys when you go to check into a hotel. All they do is they program that room key, and that's how you get in. This is very similar as well to QR barcodes that I'm sure we're all seeing everywhere in bars and restaurants right now. So the only real difference is that a QR barcode is, just printed, and you need better lighting. You need to make sure that it doesn't get wet or damaged by anything during its lifespan. Where in this case, the beauty of the NFC chip is it's fully embedded into a product. So you don't have to worry about lighting. You can do this in the pitch black if you like. You also don't have to worry about wear and tear. You don't have to worry about scratches or anything because it's fully encapsulated. Now, I mentioned about the videos and the multimedia, the home pages. There are a number of ways that we're seeing this being used really effectively that we're going to go over in a little bit more detail with you, just because you never know, it might spark something for you that was going to really help you further promote an event or an initiative or some kind of program you might be trying to get off the ground. So just really quickly, I kind of talked about how we apply the decoration. These are examples right here on this screen of how we do that. So we can either use what you see over there in that top right-hand corner, that's an epoxy dome. So we use an epoxy, which is a very hard plastic, and we kind of highlight either a product or an icon, whatever you want, on a journal or a luggage tag. We can use it on technology products. There's actually 150 products in total that we're able to use NFC chips with. So this was the original way. It was using that deboss and dome. And it was very, very effective. But my personal favorite ones are actually the brand patches that you see right here. So the other three images, they're all different types of patches that we use on soft goods like bags. We also use them on some of our, barbecue and outdoor accessory kits, that kind of thing. In this case, what we do is we just put the chip behind the patch and then we sew the patch into the material of the product. But first, I'm going to show you an example of what that looks like. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second, if I can, right here. So I'm going to show you guys right here. This is what the patch looks like. So this is my favorite one. It's a debossed brand patch. So it's going to have some great texture to it, and it's going to be slightly 3D with that rubberized finish. It's really beautiful. This is a great way to pop your logo, but then it also has this great feature built into it. Furthermore, the journals that you guys all received already, it's my favorite option, and we're going to look at it a little bit closer at the end, that category specifically, because to me, this is the most perfect integration for NFC, because in yours that you got, the NFC chip is built right into the spine of the journal. So we don't have to add any additional decoration. It's very integrated. You have all the room, all the options to really, pump it up and really promote what's behind this chip and what you can do with it. So it just gives you a lot of options in that way that some of the other products don't. Let's go back to my screen. Just 1 second, guys, just waiting for this bar to go away. So as I mentioned, part of what makes this so special is really the fact that for the first time ever, you are able to really, oh, it's already up here. Can you guys see my screen right now? Sorry to ask this.
Yeah, we can see it. We're seeing the
Sorry, I was on mute.
presentation with the
You're
preview
good,
on the
you're
side.
good.
Yep.
Current slides, there we go. So just really fast, what makes this so great is just all the different ways that you can use this to leverage a better experience, because really that's the whole point of a promotional product is you're giving this out to people, whether it's internal or to clients, to really build an experience and give them a better idea of what you are like as a brand. It's kind of like a gift that you get to give people and to have them remind them of you, or you remind them of you. Anyway, here are some applications that we're seeing a lot. So with a lot of what happened last year during the pandemic, we're seeing a ton of onboarding. Now, onboarding is one of my favorite ones to discuss because, when you're new, you don't know anything. You might know the basics based on what you asked in your interview, but there's still a lot of questions that you might have, especially as it relates to your first day, first week. So this is a great way to give new hires something that they can use to take notes or to put all their stuff in if you want to use a bag. And it allows you the opportunity to have a link that gives them a very specialized experience. Maybe that includes a welcome message. Maybe there's frequently asked questions that you can add there that are going to help new hires as they move through their first week. You can also include a directory so they know exactly where to go to get all that kind of information. One of my favorite things, to be honest with you, is just including something as simple as a map of the building, a layout of where everything is. I remember on my first year, I could not, for the life of me, figure out where the kitchen was. The kitchen almost crippled me that week, let me tell you. So it would have been so helpful to have just, a quick little image of where everything was located, just so that I could find it. Anyway, you can do anything you want with this. You can also even include a link to get signed up for any kind of health benefits or additional paperwork that you may need them to fill out at some point. They can get a jump start on that if they like. So it's a way that you can just really personalize an experience. In terms of trade shows, this is another big one. You only get a very small amount of time to get a big message across to the people you're meeting at these shows. This is a great way to start a conversation and then allow them to walk away with targeted information based on what you're promoting that day, and allow them to go and explore it a little bit more before you do your follow-up. It's just a really easy way to make sure that you leave a great impression. You can also use this to incentivize leads. So you can also have some kind of messaging attached to this. It could be something as little as a $2 pen. We have a pen that we can actually it already has a chip built into the barrel. So all we do is just coat it up and it's good to go. We can include packaging with this, for instance, that would allow you to then say to them, hey, go click on that quarterly, because you're going to get show specials on a quarterly basis that will only be available through that link. So it's a way to make sure that they continue to engage with your content and that they're regularly seeing what you're doing. Events is kind of a no-brainer, and I'm sure a lot of you have already kind of put some of those, dotted some of those I's and crossed those T's when it comes to events in NFC technology. If you have run an event, maybe a 12,000 person event just very recently, you probably know better than anyone how quickly details can change. And printed materials are often reprinted. This is a great way to give everyone a little something at the start of the event that's going to really help them through the week. And any kind of changes that may need to be made, you can make them on the fly without having to figure out, okay, how do we print out all these new scheduled events? It's a great option. This is also a great place to talk about sponsors. Most events, to a certain degree, have some kind of sponsorship level attached to them. It's a great way to leverage more visibility for them, to allow them to do their own kind of little campaign behind it with a quick link that lets them speak directly to the attendees. And of course, you also have the option with that interactive component. So you can create that missed connections page where attendees can figure out, hey, I had a great conversation with this guy at the restaurant last night, but I can't remember what his name was, can't remember how to get in touch with him. This is a great way to figure all that out and help people along the way with the networking. Last but not least, these are just some quick other examples. You know, this great way to promote loyalty programs to really jumpstart it. We've been using this a lot recently with app development and app launches. So we can actually have the chips linked directly to the App Store so that it's a very quick experience to just go and download that app onto your phone or tablet. And I did mention, like, in terms of being able to target specific audiences, you can even do this in terms of, you can get really technical with this if you want to. You can look at segments of your client base. Maybe you want to really go after people who haven't purchased from you in the last 5 years, or maybe you're looking to go after, you know, some influencers, if you will, maybe a smaller degree, but you really want to go after those VIPs and you really want to promote to them and get more referrals or what have you. This is a great way to make them feel special by giving them something a little bit different that's also going to keep providing them that regular VIP content without you having to do too much to communicate it. This is just a really quick couple of examples that I wanted to go over. I kind of just mentioned the VIP content. This was an example of a project we worked on not too long ago where a music label was really looking to go after that top tier of fan, the fans that are the first ones to buy their tickets every time, the fans that are just buying everything out of the merch store. This was a way for them to really say to them, like, listen, you are amazing to us and we want to reward you as such. And what they ended up doing was also creating a whole bunch of specialized content that only these fans could get, whether that was with the musicians or behind the scenes. There were a whole different, there was actually quite a big array of different type of content that they used to create this experience for them. And then they also gave them, and I loved this one because I love band merch. They also gave them early access to the new lines that were coming into the stores, into the merch stores. So it gave them, I believe, about 2 weeks to go in ahead of time to the pre-launch website where they could then go and order anything that they wanted before it hit the regular websites. So that was a really big deal for these people.
So that, just to clarify there, I don't want to jump in too early, but yeah, the headphones is the item that they did. Is that right? And it's built into the earpiece or both earpieces, or
just into the one. So that's a patch.
Okay.
Earlier we were talking about a patch.
Yeah.
So in this case, we could either use a dome or we could use a patch. These guys used a patch. And what it did was it just kind of encased it behind it, the chip.
Yeah.
And then the packaging was where it described what the significance was to scanning the chip.
And so the reality, just to talk about it in practical terms, is they did headphones. We put an NFC chip in one side that can be scanned, and then that was embedded with a link that they provided to you guys that said, this is where we want this to go. And then that's giving the premium access to what you mentioned, whether it be, you know, early release of music or merchandise or whatever.
Yep,
Got it.
exactly. Anyway, next one. Great question though. Thank you, Landon. Last year, obviously graduation was a very different type of graduation. So in this case, the schools, they were looking for just a little something else that they could add on to show the graduates how much they appreciated their resiliency and just being really accommodating to the situation that they were faced with. You know, graduation for most kids is this really big moment. It's so much more than just, you know, a day where you get your diploma. It's, you know, a whole family event. Your family gets to watch you, you get to stand up in front of all your friends and their families. It's a big moment. And those kids lost this. They also didn't get yearbooks last year. So in this case, the graduates, when they got their diploma, they were also passed this pen that I just discussed earlier, actually, in this packaging that you see on the screen. Now, what happened was that when they scanned that little NFC icon on the pen barrel, it launched them into a portal where they had almost like a virtual yearbook, where they could go in, they could leave messages to each other as if they were signing real yearbooks. And it just gave them something a little bit more familiar in a very unfamiliar time. And this went off so well, specifically the personalized pen, believe it or not. The NFC link was a huge hit, but just even the pen with the personalization of these kids' names was such a hit with the parents that those schools that did this, they're now continuing it despite whether we're in a pandemic again this year or not, because they just loved the emotion and the intention behind it. They thought it was so thoughtful. So it was just a really effective campaign from all these different areas and different influencers. So it was very, very effective. We have 2 different pens that you can use this on. These are also my favorite option for trade shows, just because they're really light, they're small, so you can send a lot of them out to wherever you're doing your show. And people are more likely to take them back with them because it's not going to take up a lot of room in their luggage. So very effective, very cost effective as well. Tourism was a big one as well. If you are someone who works closely within the community that you are working within, this was a great story to share with you, just in terms of how they really looked at leveraging that community experience and help building up other businesses. So in this case, it was a city that did this. This is not the actual example, I'm so sorry, but it is an example of something very similar to what they did. So they used a power bank because they had this whole powering up theme behind it. Basically, it was powering up your next conference. But what made this so impactful for me as I was helping them with this was the fact that they were bringing in all these local businesses to help make planning a trip a lot easier for the attendees and for the decision makers. So, you know, they would give their own discount codes, or they would give their own free information or, you know, free meeting setup. So you could just easily go to it right away using that link. And it really integrated the sponsors of the events beautifully, and really just gave these people such a great view at the city, even when they couldn't be there personally. This is also a great idea if you're launching any kind of product or any kind of how-to videos. NFC is another great option for that, because they can just go regularly back to that if they would like to and continue checking out what new videos exist or what new product or service you might be launching. It's a great way just to make it easy, because really in today's day and age, if it's not easy, it's going to be a challenge.
I love all these use cases just to you know, demonstrate. I was writing down, you know, what is it that I like about this, and I remember when you gave this presentation to Brett and I, and we were just like, we were really, really excited about it. And I think we, you know, we love the quality products that Spector has. We love that this creates a tech component to things that are, you know, maybe people have done in the past, journals, things they're used to doing. And then the fact that you can integrate and pull in, you know, content that we all work hard to create out on, you know, whether it be websites or social media. I mean, I know one of the things we considered was linking out to our YouTube channel to these events, to these partner series events. We elected not to do that because we were creating a new website, and we wanted to make sure people were accessing the partner series through our website. And so we just chose to link to the website generally. And so in reality, I think we probably, you know, the journal we sent and linking out to our website is probably a very entry level use case for this, when I'm hearing some of these others. to where they've created a lot more interactive content on the back end. And I also know that you sent me a journal. This is something that we should point out. One of the journals you sent had multiple on the cover. So it is possible, obviously there's some additional costs, but it is possible to do items that have more than one NFC chip. And then obviously you need to kind of label, each one needs to have some indication of where it's going or what it's for, but that's also possible.
Exactly. And, you know, to that point, Landon, like what is so great about this too, is that if you make a slightly different URL, so let's say it's your website with a backslash and then some little code at the end, and it's only available through the NFC link, then that means you're also able to track the traffic on it, which is great from a marketing analytics perspective, because you're going to know how much interaction is happening or not. And you can kind of tweak things along the way to see if it affects your traffic, which we've all always wanted. That ROI is something that has always been a big topic for us in this industry. And, you know, this is one of the first times where we can actually provide you guys with an option to look at that.
And that would allow you to change up the content too, to where you got it.
Exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and that'll be it for the screen right now until I show you this quick thing on the website. But I want to show you how it works, because I've talked a lot about all the different ways you can use it, but let's talk about how you actually launch it, because it's pretty cool. So
That's great, because I've been trying to figure it out on my own for like 10 minutes. And
Justin, let's do it together. What kind of phone do you use?
It's an iPhone 8.
iPhone 8. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into your control center. It looks like this.
Yep.
And are you on the latest operating system, the 14?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
So you see this little button right down here. It looks like the NFC icon. Looks like a Wi-Fi almost. Yep.
Nice.
You're going to just click on that, and it's going to pull up my reader. Now, this is you only need to do this if you're using an iPhone under 11. Anything else above the 11, you don't even need to pull it up. It will just automatically scan. And all you do is you hold it up to the spine of the book where it's indicated, and then you see it pulls up that website. I click on it and I'm off to the races.
Yep, that's awesome.
Other note is if you're an Android user, well, Android's always had this capability, so you don't need an app or anything. You don't need to open any kind of additional software on your phone. It's already good to go. So
and that was going to be one thing Kate, I was going to point out. We put this on the inside cover of the journal that you got, which is probably a good idea to provide some instruction. Kate, and we talked about this yesterday, that, you know, we recognize that the people getting these, it's got to be easy, as you mentioned earlier, Kate. So that's one of the ways that we tried to make it, to explain it and help people tackle it.
Absolutely. And I highly recommend, like, if you're going to be doing this, especially if you're using something like the Scribble journal that you've all got in front of you right now that Landon just showed, it's got so much real estate on it. You can also promote what they're going to find when they get there, to incentivize them to really like stick at it and connect to it, because, you know, everyone wants a little bit of a breadcrumb sometimes, you know.
Well, and in addition, so this, again, our brand lends itself to a very, Brett talks about this all the time, that we've got to kind of come up with something that may be a little bit more full color, but our brand tends to be simple. And so, but remember that, and as an example, this journal could be printed full color here, full color on the inside and back cover. And you can also put what's called a tip-in page, if I'm saying that right, Kate.
You are.
So you can have, we've got the instructions here, and then you could have a tip-in page here that is full color printed that gives really whatever information. There you go.
There you go. It could look just like this. The other option is using a belly band. If you don't want it to be permanently in the book, but you want people to have the instructions handy when they first get it, we can belly band around the book, kind of like a wedding invitation package. And that's a great way. There's so many ways to share it. So there's lots of options at different price points based on your budget and the look you're going for.
Yeah.
So really quickly before I wrap this up, I just wanted to share one more thing with you guys. We have, so these journals that you now have, that, you know, they're so cool. Like I can't not pretend to fangirl just a little bit, because I just love all the different components of it. And we've tried to make it really easy for you. And I want to show you. So Brett and Landon and I, we actually went through this together when we first spoke. And we just really wanted to show this to you. so you can get a better idea of what options are available to you on this journal that you have
Hey,
right now.
Would you mind just sharing that link in the
Yeah.
chat section so they can more or less kind of follow along with you here?
You got it. Here you go, guys. It's right in there. Whoops, that went into mine. Hold on. There you go. So what makes this really easy, and what I love most about it, is custom anything can often get a little confusing because you have a lot of options in this case. So what we did here was we went through it and we gave options, but a limited amount of options so that you can make something that is very on brand for you without getting kind of weighed down by just too many options. So when you land on a product—
Kate, real quick, I just want to say, and I want to be clear about this with people that are with us live here, but also those that will watch later. We're showing you this not because we intend for you to do this on our behalf. Like, we are happy to, obviously do that for you. But Brett and I felt like it was important to show this because if, Justin, as an example, that because there's so many options, this is a great tool to be able to come in and quickly get an idea of what it would cost to configure it the way that you might want to configure it. So it's just a useful tool. But as I said, I don't want this to seem like we're pushing people out to it. Come to us, we'll do it, but we can also provide this to help you kind of have fun with it, figure out what it would cost to do it the way you.
So guys, you're just going to literally go through these different little arrows and they're going to tell you, okay, you can have a perfect boundary, you can have a center zone. Just, it's a different type of binding style. It's very straightforward. There's also 4 different styles of each of those 2 bindings that you can choose from. So a total of 8 SKUs. I love it. It's beautiful. It's super easy for me as a salesperson. You then choose what kind of paper you want. Do you want to be lined, blank, or grid? The guys at Goodson, they got the grid, and it is my favorite. I just like how it gives you a little bit more structure than a blank page, but it still lets you go a little freestyle with what you want to use on that page, you know? You get to choose your corners, your cover material. There are 3 different options. Again, the one that you have is the craft option, but you can also have just a smooth cover or a slightly textured cover, which is almost like a very smooth, empty paper towel roll. That's kind of how I describe it as feeling, except it is white. It's a white cover. Then you choose your lamination. You can do a soft touch, which is kind of a rubberized feel. You can do a glossy, or you can do a matte. And again, that choice is just going to be made based on budget or on aesthetic for your brand. And then this is where it starts to get interesting. So the print, you get a bunch of options. So, you can have just the front covers printed, or you can also choose to have the interior cover. And I know you can't see this too well, but luckily it's bold enough that you should be able to see it on my tiny screen right now. So here's how the interior covers look. And you see it just blends really nicely with the front exterior. So the interior just kind of extends that messaging. You then have the option to add tip-in pages. We can add them at the
So real
front.
quick, Kate, a one-side print would be
Just the outside cover.
that, essentially, just that
Yep.
outside part, and not the, okay.
Yep. So I'll show you on this one because it's full color. So this right here is built into the unit cost. This is already built in there, all this color. It's crazy. And then it's just a very simple, I think it's 50 extra cents or something to just add it into the interior as well. It's a small fee, but it adds a lot of impact when you open it and you see that. So I highly recommend it. The tip-in pages can go every 50 pages if you like. If you've got the budget, go for it. It's totally your call. We can also personalize these, so we can add names or department names if you prefer that, or designations, numbers. If you're part of a sports agency, we can even add like jersey numbers because that's a big deal. There's a lot of different ways we can personalize either the front cover or tip-in pages. The reason that's important to mention is because I did this example last year, and you'll see that this is on the interior cover. We could also do this on a tip-in page. It's a note to the recipients, but they personalized it with the first name of everyone, so that the note actually said, "Dear Kate, thank you so much for your business this year." It was amazing because they didn't have to know that it was just, as far as I knew, that could have just gone to me. Didn't go to 100 other people. So it's a nice little trick to kind of make it feel really emotional and intentional. Of course, we have the NFC tags that you can choose down here. And now Landon mentioned earlier that a lot of our options do include to have several locations. So for instance, on the journal that you have right now, we can put an NFC chip in the top, the middle, or the bottom. So we can feature up to 3 NFC tags on this piece. And you'll see right here that you actually just go through and you decide how many you want. The example that I showed Landon before was actually of a bank where you could either go directly to their website, you could go check out all their locations across the country and get directions from your house. There were investing links. It was very comprehensive, but you can use it any way you want. If it's for an event, maybe you want to have a social feed or a sneak peek. Maybe you want to have the presented materials in their own spot. There's so many different ways you can kind of leverage that. And last but not least, the beauty of this is that everything is just built in as you select it. So it's really easy. And of course, Goodson will help you with all the pricing and everything, but this is just to give you a better idea of how it all works. And last but not least, really, really fast, but kind of cool. If you want to play around with your options on this book, all you have to do is go into this editor tool. You choose your branding method. I'm going to pick 4-color process just to make this really easy. You're going to add some artwork. I'm just going to use some that's preloaded. I use this all the time with my own art department to tell them, hey, I want this specifically here and that specifically there. So you just kind of scale it depending on the size of the book. This already fits perfectly, kind of like I've done this before, but you would just kind of manipulate it a little bit according to the artwork that you are using. You can then have the option to add more artwork. So if you wanted to add a logo of some sort, you can do so. So I'm just trying to get down to where my logos are, but this isn't going to work very well. Let's use NASA, guys. This is really off brand, but this is a perfect example because you'll see that there are some white grainy lines around there. There's a slider tool. I don't know if you can see my cursor right now, but if you use this little tool right there, watch the magic. I know. This is really the highlight of the presentation, so really take this in, okay? And then I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller just to size it down a bit. There we go. And then this is our, sorry, this is giving me some trouble right now because I'm slightly delayed on this, but that's our book. And there we go, off to the races. This is not a really pretty one, but at least it gives you the idea. You can then preview it, see what it all looks like when it's all said and done. And it's going to spit me over here. And it creates a 3D rendering for you that you can kind of look at it from all different angles. I really like to play around with it. It's just easier sometimes to communicate that way for me. So that is NFC, and that's my favorite category for NFC are the scribbled journals. So I know I just went over a lot of stuff. Does anyone have any questions?
Not so much a question, but I was just going to comment that I've seen some really interesting and creative ways of people just leveraging, like, what are the behaviors that are associated with the product, right? So let's say, you know, you have the notebook, you could create, I saw someone create their own like playlist of music.
Yeah.
So, you know, it just personalizes it, but it takes somebody to something super unexpected, but kind of cool. And it makes it, it just helps you emotionally connect, I think, better with the brand, but just in a surprising way. So I think connecting like the behavior that you think someone will have or be doing while they're, you know, I think the tips and the, you know, links to other sites and everything are also cool, but, you know, to surprise someone with something just interesting like that is a great way to handle it.
I totally agree. I'm just really quickly, I just love this story. I thought it was so cool. Back when everyone was still working from home early last year, we did a kit for a company where they actually already had everyone submit their favorite like hype song basically. And they had no idea why they were submitting that. Absolutely no idea. Next thing they knew, they all received these kits. And one of the products inside that kit was a journal with an NFC dome. And when they scanned that, it took them to a work from home playlist where all of their colleagues had all created this playlist with their favorite song.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love the fact that it's so flexible and it can be used in so many different ways. One thing I want to say, we focused primarily on NFC because we were so excited about it, but I do want to make sure that we point out that Spector has a lot of other, not only do they have a lot of other products that you can incorporate NFC into, which we talked about journals and bags and pens and different things of that sort. But then there's just a lot of other things that you guys do outside of the NFC. I know, like, I have a retro speaker that I got from you guys that I send out as a follow-up gift for people who join my podcast, and there's, you know, bags and everything. I think the thing we like about Spector is they're a great partner for us. All of the products are great quality and the service is great as well. And then we love the fact that sort of you can just add on, and frankly, the NFC add-on, I think the thing that surprised me the most was that it wasn't quite, it wasn't nearly as expensive as I expected it to be to use. There are some other companies out there offering similar technology, but the setups can be really high. The entry cost can be high, and it's very reasonable with Spector. So, yeah, Brett, you want to add anything?
No, I was just about to more or less hop in to say the same thing. Yeah, obviously we're very excited about the NFC stuff, but they've got a ton of different collections and ideas and things like that can be found on the website that I would just really encourage you guys just to kind of go on there and peruse around and just kind of have fun. One of my favorite collections is the Call of the Wild collection, and that's more or less just this really sort of like rugged, fun camper, but that more or less speaks to all of the things that I'm interested in. That's probably, but I just posted a link to their Call of the Wild selection. I actually just did some little dop kit kind of things for another client of mine. They turned out awesome. But yeah, we can't get to everything that Spector does in this meeting, but really and truly everything that they do is fantastic. Excellent customer service across the board, and hopefully we can have you guys on in the future to kind of talk through some of the other lines. But
more of the basics.
Yeah.
Now, to Brett's point, I actually used the Call. I had the it's the DOP kit, the Call of the Wild DOP kit. And I actually used it the last couple of days when I was out of town, and I love it. So yeah, tons of options. And as we always say, did everyone on here? I mean, message if you didn't receive your journal. I assume that you did. If you didn't, let us know. There may have been some people that signed up late that we still need to get them out to. Always love your feedback on the product itself, as well as these presentations, how we can improve them. We'll be following up with you to ask for that. And then, as Brett mentioned, if you go out to the site and you see things that you're interested in, we always say, let us know. We're happy to send samples, do whatever we can do to make sure that we help you pick the right product, you know, for whatever audience, whatever objective you have. So does anyone have any questions or comments?
What is this pin we received?
This
is nice.
That is called the Switchback. It's from a different supplier. Sorry.
Okay.
Kate.
No, it's good. It's good.
But so when we decided to send the journal, we had some pins that we've done over time. We were joking the other day that we had to like put the brakes on ourselves a little bit with pins, because we've become like, we just like a lot of pins. And so a lot of our vendors will give us, you know, options. And the next thing you know, we end up with all these pins and we're like, man, we've got to get these in people's hands. So we decided to I think we threw 2 in. Is that right, Justin, with the journal?
You did.
Yeah,
you did.
But no, that pin is really, we love that. And it's from a company called Hub, and we're happy to provide some, you know, pricing and options there. So
Sorry, Kate. I like the journal a lot too.
Hey, no, it's all good. I love that pen as well, to be honest with you. It's a great one.
Good. Well, Kate,
Awesome.
I can't thank you enough for doing
you.
this. And you guys are, like I said, a great company to work with. And we're going to let people get back to what they've got to do today. And thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time with us.
Thanks for having me, everybody.
Yeah, very good. Everybody have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.